Duck Hunt. I'd argue it's the one title that most defines 8-bit light gun gaming. Whether you're shooting pixelized ducks or clayed pigeons, it was incredibly approachable for pretty much anyone to pick up and play due to its use of the NES Zapper. Just point, shoot, and learn to embrace your hate for virtual dogs. But as much as I enjoyed playing it at my friend's house back in the day, my family only owned a 486 PC at the time, and of course, Nintendo was not interested in releasing games for DOS. Not unless it involved rap music. The 90s were a magical time, guys. Anyway, the point was I wanted to play some friggin' Duck Hunt on my computer, even though it obviously didn't have a light gun, so when I saw this I practically begged to get it. Duck Hunt for the PC! This was a shareware game by Alligator Software that I got in 1994 at a local book fair, sandwiched between hundreds of other bland-looking discs. There was no box art or screenshots to go on, only the title and description, so it was a real gamble picking up games this way. But dude, I was desperate, so I rushed it home, installed it, and here's what I got. It's not quite what I had hoped for, to be honest. I mean, you could shoot ducks on top of a 3D looking background, and that I liked, and it had sound effects that ran through my PC speaker with the right driver, so that was a plus. But compared to the bright, colorful Nintendo-gasm that was Duck Hunt on the NES, I was absolutely bummed this is what I'd picked up. There's no ammo to worry about here, you just reload every 3 shots and shoot as many ducks as you can in each wave, and once the identical waves of identical ducks run out, or you miss too many of them, it's game over. And the shooting itself felt more like a dice roll than anything else. It really seems like no matter how accurate you are, half the time the shots just won't connect. And even though you have a duck call option, it's just an extra thing to click on at the start of each wave, it does pretty much nothing. But I didn't give up. I scrounged around online bulletin boards and AOL's game channel for anything Duck Hunt related, and I'd often run across games like this. Once again, it is called Duck Hunt, this time by ALO Software in 1993. And yeah, it's not great, you just press space to shoot and hope you hit the duck arrow. ASCII art. Although it does get the taunting aspect of the game down pat, except instead of a condescending dog, you have belittling text. Oh. Ouch! Okay, now you're just being a dick. Finally, in 1995, there was a DOS Duck Hunt tribute by creators of Intense Art, although I unfortunately did not discover this until recently. This is exactly the kind of thing I was looking for back in the day. It's quite an impressive recreation. Doubly so once you realize this is made using ANSI characters. There are no bitmapped graphics here at all. All this to say that, yeah, once NES emulators came out, I was all aboard that hype train, but to this day I have a soft spot for duck hunting games, so when I ran across this in a Goodwill some time ago, I had to grab it. This is Duck Hunter Pro, originally released in 1998, but re-released in 2002 here by Ducks Unlimited. And yes, that says mousepad with free game, and not the other way around. It does not exactly instill confidence in the product, but hey, it's 2002 and the tech bubble is bursting, so just shove everything we have into a bag and sell it. Are you ready? Ducks Unlimited and Head Games have teamed up to Wait, Head Games made this? And they refrained from attaching the Extreme label to it? Huh. Well, okay then, maybe that means it's better. I mean, it features 10 different birds and website hot links and an easy-to-use Chevy truck interface. Cool. And I see the Amazon reviews are quite promising. Or Amazon review from a customer. There's also this customer image someone uploaded of a guy posing in some dead grass with a bunch of fish. Yeah, that sounds about right. Let's get this thing opened and see what you get, starting with the CD itself and this very blatant message saying precisely what bundle this goes with and nothing else. And of course, there's the real star of the show, the Ducks Unlimited mousepad. And I gotta say, it's a pretty decent mousepad. And I feel inclined to use it with this game, even though I already use a lovely mousepad from Ducky, which is purely a coincidence, I assure you. Starting the game up, and Head Games. I recognized your foul stench when I was brought on board. It then greets you with a photo of an IBM ThinkPad, and it's here that you enter your name and start your season of hunting. After this, you get the main menu, including those fancy website hot links. The Chevy and Ducks Unlimited websites are the only ones that still work, although as expected, old-school Internet Explorer doesn't play well. And it seems like the Head Games website is up for sale. Now that is tempting. Like, really tempting. So I actually got in touch with the current owner of the domain, and they wanted $15,000 for it. Considering it's been down for 15 years, that's only $1,000 for each dead year. Bargain! Yeah, whatever. Exiting the laptop screen brings you to the easy-to-use Chevy truck interface, and here you can choose where you want to hunt. There's 4 locations, and each one of them has a unique set of environments and conditions varying in skill level. Exiting the truck brings you to a Chevy stock photo, and clicking on the trunk lets you choose from 3 shotguns, most of which absolutely suck. Seriously, who's heard of a pump-action 12-gauge that only holds 2 to 3 rounds? Oh well, you can still shoot stuff with them, so that's good, and this is done by selecting a blind to shoot from on this map. Nothing better than the great outdoors indoors on Windows 98. And from here you just... What? Okay, that was weird. Anyway, from here you discover the mouse is entirely too sensitive, so slow it down in the options menu and oh, it's even worse! Turns out the slow and fast options are reversed, so you need to set it to the fastest to make it the slowest. Did I mention Head Games made this? Anyway, back to the hunt, and again? Apparently, every time you start up a hunting session, it thinks you've reinserted the CD, which triggers the auto run. So you have to disable that feature in Windows unless you want the game trying to reinstall itself every time you hunt. Alright, anyway, I think we can finally play now, and it's okay. You pretty much just sit there and wait for your dude to start an ASMR session.
Here they come.
Then some ducks will fly by somewhere on screen, and if you can hit them, you send your dog to go and retrieve them.
Attaboy, Chevy.
Wait, did he just call his dog Chevy?
Attaboy, Chevy.
The dog is named after the sponsorship. Imagine if YouTubers did that, every other dog would be named Audible or Squarespace. But yeah, that's pretty much it for these easier hunting sessions. Shoot stuff until you're done shooting stuff. Then exit back to your truck and, well, I guess that's what happens to the ducks. Oh, and if you happen to break the rules somewhere, you'll get written up, and in that case, you've gassed up the grill for nothing. Unless you are playing the arcade mode, where you just shoot anything that moves with no penalty, sans any tasty duck afterward. Seeing as you still have to wait around quite a bit for ducks to fly by, it's not exactly what I would call exciting arcade gameplay, but it's a bit less restrictive at least. And finally, there are more difficult hunts, which require you to possess a bit more skill and higher tolerance for irritating game mechanics. On these maps, the ducks don't fly by, they're just these little teeny tiny single pixel birds on the horizon. In order to lure them in, you have to lure them in, using decoys and calls. Calls are pretty straightforward, you just use the correct one at the correct time and they'll come flying closer. And if you think that sound gets super old, you'd be correct. I now hate ducks. The goal here is to get this meter at the bottom to turn from red to yellow to green, because otherwise they're too far off to shoot with your shotgun. That's where decoys come into play, and man does this suck. For whatever reason, this screen is home to some legendary input lag. Just look at this crap. Not only that, but the system for making a successful set of decoys is a mystery to me, man. The help menu says you need to create a pocket for a landing zone in accordance with the wind direction and balance the number of female and male decoys. And that'd be fine if this was not the pickiest and least informative system possible. All you've got to go on is a vague meter turning colors to let you know if your placement is good or bad, and like 99% of anything you do seems to be bad. The thing is, you need to get this into the green if you want to stand a chance, and I was never able to do that in over an hour trying. Yeah, combined with the lag, screw that. I gave up and went back to the easier modes so I could cook more ducks because I'm hungry. But even that's not very fun here, and neither is the whole game. It's not as ridiculously terrible as other Head Games products, but it's just not very enjoyable, and it's exacerbated by all sorts of little problems, like for instance the really low field of view. Every other 2D duck hunting game I've played has a static screen that you aim around, but here the mouse both aims and scrolls the screen. It's not just finicky, but it makes it harder than it needs to be to spot the ducks before they fly past. Oh, and look, there's a bunch of maps where the camera is bobbing up and down constantly because you're on a boat. That won't make players sick at all. Lol. And on that queasy note, we have reached the end of my quest for duck hunting PC games, at least for today. I know there's better duck hunting games out there these days, but I don't really care anymore. I'm sticking with the NES game, because at least a laughing dog is the most I have to worry about. And if you enjoyed this episode of LGR, perhaps you would like to see some of my others. There's new ones every Monday and Friday. And to see episodes early, you can support the show on Patreon. And as always, thank you very much for watching.